Hi, welcome to Books of Yarn. My name is Anna, and this is a review of all the books I read in 2023. Now, I do have a few disclaimer before we get started. Most of these, I don't remember what was the plot of. But I did remember what I rated the book as. I'll try to give you a brief synopsis of each book if I fully remember the plot, but for the most part, you'll get my rating. So last year I read 13 5-star books, 14 4 stars, 10 3 stars, no 2 stars, but I read two 1-star books. Funny thing is, my favorite book of the year is by the same author as my worst book of the year. So I don't even know how I feel about that. But we're gonna get started into the 5-star books. Now, if I'm looking away, it's because I have written down, I have all the list of the books written down to this side of the camera. So sorry if I'm not giving you my full attention. This is in no particular order, but we're gonna start off with all the 5-star books. At the top of the list, I'm just gonna grab my book. It makes it easy. So at the top of my list, I have The Maid's Diary by Lauren Ann White. Another thing is, none of these books that I read are physical books. I either read them through my Kindle Unlimited membership or I borrowed them from my local library. Hence the reason why I'm not showing you like the cover and stuff. But I will try to insert, probably on this side, a picture of the cover of the book in case you're interested. So this is my first 5-star book. This follows a maid who end up goes missing. So this book is a suspense. As I said, this was a 5-star for me. My second 5-star, the second book that I have on my list of 5-star is The Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Nin. Now, I had initially read this book for a series that I was doing on my channel, which the files were so corrupt that I ended up not posting it. But this was a movie versus book series that I was doing on my channel. Now, I initially watched the series Little Fires Everywhere. It's on Hulu. I watched it starring Kerry Washington and Reese Witherspoon. So I was really intrigued when I found this book at my local library, because I did not know that they had initially done it based on a movie. I read it back in December, so the plot is fairly fresh in my head. It follows Mia Warren, which is a single mom, and she's also an author. And if there's another mom starring Reese, that's Reese. That's like the picket fence mom. She has the perfect job, the husband, the nice house, and she has 3 children. Four. There's Lexi, there's Trip, there's Moody, and there is Izzy. And then there is another mom that works at the Lucky Palace with Mia. Her name is Bibi. She's an Asian mom, and then there's another mom, Miss Miss McCullen. She's an adopted mom. She ended up adopting Bibi's child under some circumstances. So throughout the book, we get to see how these 4 moms' lives intertwine. We get a lot of backstory into the life of Mia, and mostly Mia and Miss. I'm trying to remember her last name. I know her first name is Mrs. Richardson. Her first name is Elena. Mrs. Richardson. She's the one that has the 4 kids. So those are the 2 lives who mainly intertwined, and through their connection, we get to see into the lives of the other 2 moms. Really love this book. Then I read Twisted Games after reading Twisted Love. Twisted Game basically follows a princess and her bodyguard. That's basically the trope of this book. With Little Fires of Versailles, I'm totally forgetting the the genre. So that was a domestic suspense. Then I read Hate Notes by V. Keelan and Penelope Ward. Ever since I was a kid, I always say Penelope. Sorry. So that basically follows this girl who was supposed to, she was engaged to get married. Her boyfriend or fiance called off the wedding, and then she was in this like bridal place where you go to this bridal shop, sorry, and she saw this dress with a note inside. Um, she ended up start working at the company for the person who wrote the note. She ended up being their secretary or assistant or whatever, and they end up falling in love. Then there's Unmissing by Mia Kent. This is a suspense which follows a girl who went missing for 10 years, and she comes back and her husband is now married. There is a little plot twist at the end which I really love. Then there's a Song of Achilles which I buddy read with my with a friend of mine from UK. This is by Madeline Miller, and this is a retelling of Patroclus and Achilles' life. It was a romance, and I'm not sure if it's because I was buddy reading it with my friend where we read like 50 pages a day that I really got to took some time into reading the book, but I really enjoy reading it. Then there is my favorite book of 2023, Reminders of Him by Colleen Hoover. I really love this book. I'm not sure if it's because I'm a mom and I also have a daughter, but this follows Kenna. She's a mom. When she didn't know she was pregnant at the time, but 5 years ago, there was an accident and she was driving and it got her boyfriend killed, which is also her daughter's father. And she went to prison, and because she went to prison, she did not have her child. Her child ended up going to her boyfriend's parents, and now we see her out of prison and trying to get her life back together and wanting to be a part of her daughter's life. This is a romance, and I really loved how this story is told. I'm not sure if it's because I also listened to the book on Audible. Why it was it's hard to describe, but I really enjoy reading and listening to this book. Then there's You've Reached Sam by Dustin Tejo, and this is a YA romance. It follows a girl who lost her boyfriend, and we get to see flashback of, because when the story starts, he's already dead, and we get to see flashback of how they met, what their life were together, and her just basically struggling to move on without him. So she called his phone and he picked up, and they've been communicating, and he basically tells her to do stuff and she does it. um Another romance that I really loved. And then there's the Mindfuck series from book 2 to book 5 were 5 stars for me. That's by SD Abbey. This follows Lana and Logan. Yes, it follows Lana and Logan. Lana is a serial killer and Logan is an FBI agent. And so he's basically out looking for her while he's trying to keep her safe from herself. So, and I really loved how there wasn't the third act breakup or whatever. And I love how he accepted her for what she was, and even though when he found out the reason why she was doing it, he didn't like pity her or he didn't like see her any less than anyone else. Or I'm glad how he basically could put himself in her shoes. And it's funny how as readers we're so okay with a lot of stuff that in real life we will never be okay with, because I don't think I'll be okay if I found out that my boyfriend was a serial killer. I'm like, hell no. I would have to report him. I'm sorry because that's just me. But that's the thing about reading. There's so much things as a reader that you can accept without anyone judging you because in real life they would judge people will judge him for saying hey, and then they'll probably say he was helping her killing people too. But I'm glad that as readers we have that space where we can accept a lot of things that aren't supposed to be acceptable. The last book on my 5-star list is Dirty Letters by V. Keelan and Penelope Ward. Now, this follows two pen pals who lost connection and then they reconnect in their adult life. And there were a lot of dirty letters. So, as kids, they would write, like, clean letters to themselves, but as adults, they wrote a lot of dirty things. So, the spice for this was I'll say 3.5 to 4. 4 4 was the spice. And these are all 5-star books that I will not accept any judgment for. If you read these books and you did not enjoy them as much as I did, know that you're not alone. There's probably someone else out there that feels the same way, but I'm just not that person. We're moving on to my 4-star books, which started with Twisted Love by Anna Hang. This is this has the brother's best friend trope, best friend sister trope. This was a 4-star because I don't know. It just was not giving me 5-star vibes. And looking back, although I rated Twisted Games a 5-star, I'm not gonna change it now. But that's the reason that's why this year I'm not gonna immediately rate. Sometimes when I finish reading a book, I like immediately rate it. But this year I'm not gonna immediately rate my books. I'm gonna like give it a day or two, and if I still feel it's a 5-star, then it probably is. If not, if you rate a book and you're doubting the rating, it's probably not the rating that it deserves. But I'm sticking by my 5 stars for last year. This year's a new year, and I'm hoping that I can do things a lot different. Then there's The Risk. I was just getting into the Mindfuck series, so there are a lot of things that I wasn't really feeling 100 or so good about. So book one of that series was a 4-star for me. Then there was Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. This is a 4-star simply because of the relationship. It's a mother. This follows a mother and a daughter, trying to move on after the death of the mother's husband dying, and so they're trying to move on. And the daughter did something that I was so it's not something that I like, not even in books. But then her boyfriend was really sweet, really nice, and I think the ending is what brought it up to the 4-star because I love I love when a YA romance, it's slightly YA, doesn't have to be all spicy or because not everyone in high school was out having a bunch of sex or whatever. I like when YA it can still have romance and be clean just to an extent. So I really love that. Then there's The Elite. This is book 2 of the selection series, which follows American Singer. And I'm trying to remember the name of the prince. I don't remember. I'm bad with names in real life and I'm bad with names in book. But there was nothing really special about the series that really stayed with me, to be honest. I love the dystopian world, so it's a YA dystopian. So I love that part of the book. I really wished I had gotten a lot more background into the world, but I didn't. I'm planning to finish the series this year, so I hopefully it gets better. I have Never Lie, which is my first book of this year in May because I didn't start reading until May. So and I'm halfway through the video and I totally forgot to mention I had planned to read 50 books this year, which I didn't. I ended up reading 39, which is just 11 books off my goal. I decided to start a crochet business, and so that has been eating away all my time. And to get back on track, I read, so Never Lie is by Frida McFadden, and it's a domestic, no, it's a psychological thriller, which follows this married couple being stuck at the house of a dead psychologist, which they're actually buying the house, but they end up getting snowed in as well. And so a lot happened while they were at the house. Someone broke in, and then there's a lot that went on in this book that I was not expecting. I was hoping that it would have been a 5 star, but a lot of the things were very repetitive, and I hate. It's fine when you say it like 3 times, but when I'm 5 chapters in and you're still saying the same thing, and I'm 10 chapters in and you're still saying the same thing, it does get to me. Hence the reason why it's a 4 star. The Echo of Old Books by Barbara Davis. This follows a girl. I'm bad with names, and she has this gift where when she touches books, she can like get a glimpse into what the owners felt when they had the book. And so she found 2 old manuscripts by 2 old lovers, and she decided to seek them out. And she ended up finding a romance of her own, which is nice. There is Run on Red by Noelle W. Isle. This is a thriller, which if I'm not mistaken, there are 2 girls on their way to some bonfire, some party, something. A girl in college went missing up there, but they're college kids. Well, I don't know them. I've never been to college, so they got stuck. My brain does this sometime. They were on the road on their way to this bonfire. They got like towed off the road, mauled off the road, and they got kidnapped by 2 guys, and we saw them fighting for their lives. There's a lot of other stuff that happened. I don't want to spoil the book for you if you decide to read it. There is Between the Lines by Rachel Lacey. I read The Lost Victim by Jennifer Hunter. All He Has Left, Chad Zunker. Gone Again, Mia Kent. All of those books I mentioned, I don't remember anything that happened in them. I actually got these rated from my Goodread. The Mister by E.L. James. I read that recently. The last time I read a E.L. James book was 50 Shades of Grey, and that was like oh 10 years ago. So I was really surprised when I found this book. It was actually at my library that I got this book, and it follows this Earl who fell in love with his Daily, and Daily is, in UK terms, is like a housekeeper, person that comes in during the day to like clean your house and do your laundry and stuff. I read Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling and Ollie Moss. Now I also did this for a movie, books that have been made into movie series, which I never got to post because the file was corrupt. There are some things that happen in Harry Potter, the movie, that didn't stay exactly true to the book. And there are things that happen in the book which I thought were would have been crucial to the movie in some aspect. But the book was a 4 star for me. I really loved it. I think they could have worked, and that's why sometimes I believe that adults should not read kids' book, because as an adult, I would have wanted there to be a lot more descriptions in terms of certain things. But reading this as a child, that's not something you would really care about. So it was a 4 star for adult me. Kid me would probably give this a 5 star, but I didn't read this as a child, so. And I'm gonna brush through my 3 star books because but most of these I read them way back in last year, so I definitely don't remember anything that happened. Beautiful Grays by I have one more 4 star book, and that's Girl on the Train by Paula Hawkins. This was also a book I read for for the movie series, for the movie book series. And I'm not sure why this is a 4 star book. I'm not this I really love this book. This book follows a girl, and surprisingly, although I read the book, I finished reading the book like 2 weeks ago, I still can't tell you what's the girl name. I'm lying. I just remember her name is Rachel. There's a girl named Rachel. She takes a train every day, and she always passes this couple's house, and they look happy. And one day she passes the house and she realized that the girl is kissing another guy, and she gets really mad. And so one day she comes off the train because she used to live in that neighborhood, so she knows the neighborhood. So she gets off the train and decided, hey, I'm gonna find her. I should add that Rachel is a alcoholic. She drinks, like she's trying to stop drinking, but she has a lot going on in her life, and she's trying to stop, but she drinks. It also follows Anna. Anna is now the wife, Rachel's ex-husband's new wife, and it also follows Megan. Megan works. Anna has a baby, so Megan sometimes used to work as a babysitter for Anna. And it's told from all three of them point of view. And Megan is the it turns out Megan is the girl in the window, and she goes missing. And so we from her point of view, we get to see what happened in the days leading up to her going missing. And from Rachel's point of view, we're seeing what happens while she's missing. And Rachel she thinks she remembers something from that day, and she gets involved in the investigation in her subtle way of trying to help. And there's suspense and there are plot twists. And I don't want to spoil it for you, so I'm not going to say anymore. And we're moving on. All right, so moving on to our 3 star books, we have Beautiful Graves by L.J. Shin. This follows a girl who she met this guy back when she was backpacking in Europe, and she fell in love with him. After her mom died, they never communicated again. They stopped talking. 6 years later, she meets this guy, and he dies. And then when he dies, this is like the second. And I should add that this girl normally create gravestones. She like decorates them or design them or something. After the death of her boyfriend, uh, we find out like a little more about her mother's death, what happened. Um, we also see her reconnecting with her father and her brother because after her mom died, she basically moved away. She stopped talking to her friends, and she also reconnected with the guy she met 6 years ago. And we get to see them yin yanging, and it was refreshing to see that it's not the guy that was making a complete fool of himself where the relationship is concerned. It was the girl, so that was really refreshing. I pretty much enjoyed it. There's Finders Keepers, Stephen King, my first Stephen King book, and I went in with a lot of expectation. I expected that this will be a thriller 5-star book that I really loved, but I unfortunately didn't really hate or love. It was just right there in the middle. Then there is Bad Mother by Mia Sheridan, Where They Lie by Joe Hart, Cross by James Patterson, which James Patterson is a longtime author of mine. I don't know if it's because back then when I was like younger, I was really into like normal suspense. Now I want I want spooky thriller. I want something that has me at the edge of my seat saying, "Hey, why did this happen? How did this happen?" I want at the end of the book, I'm still so confused that I'm online searching up stuff or I'm rereading the book. That's what I want, and I think I need to stop going into book expecting things. Not because you've read books by the author before, it doesn't mean the book still can't disappoint you. So I think when I go into books with expect higher expectations or any expectations that I shouldn't, this is what normally happens when my expectations are not met. They end up being 3-star books. Then I have The Wedding Confession by J.J. Knight, The Perfect Murder by Kat Martin, The Selection, which is book one of the selection series. I was just getting into the book. American Singer is a very, very annoying teenage girl. She's 16. I do pray that I was not like her. And there's a little love triangle that should be should be at the stage of book one. The love triangle wasn't even relevant ish to me, but I could be wrong. I do promise that I'm gonna do better next year when it comes on to my books. I'm gonna try to remember the plot. I'm gonna try not to go in with expectations, but this would have been a 2-star for me if I Maxim. I've been trying to Maxim is the name of the prince. That's what I've been trying to remember. The name of the prince. Really, really sweet kid. He's really sweet. He's just trying to find a princess. Then there is The Perfect Marriage by Geneva Rose. Let me say, initially, this was a 4-star book for me. And it was a 4-star initially simply because of the ending of the book. Now, it's funny, I read this book months ago, but this is a book that I remember reading. Once again, no names. There is this lawyer, she has a husband, she has a lake house. Now, her husband, mistress, is found dead in their lake house. Being the good wife, she decides to defend said husband. However, after reading the book, he should have sought other counsel, needless to say. Halfway through the book, I'm like, who did it? Who did it? It was unnecessary long because nothing really happened. And the husband he went to jail for the murder, right? And 10 years later, he got the death penalty. Now, if I say anything else, it's gonna be a spoiler, but 3-star book. I'm gonna move on. Then there's A Silent Patient. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Another book that really upsets me. Now, there is this woman, she's in a mental institution now for killing her husband, right? And she hasn't spoken since her husband's death. Then there is this psychiatrist who is also telling the story. And all this time I'm saying, why is he telling the story? And all I kept saying is, who the hell is he? And then at the wee end of the book, it all becomes clear who he is and how he actually knows the silent patient. 3-star. I wanted to reread this book to see if the second time around I would enjoy it. I did enjoy it. I did not like a lot of the concepts of the book. I did not like a lot of things that happen in the book. But this is one of those books where I would most definitely, even if it was a 1-star book, I'd recommend it to someone. It's a really nice read. And here are my 2 1-stars. Layla by Colleen Hoover, and Layla happens to be a paranormal romance book. Guy meets girl, guy falls in love with girl. Girl meets an accident, girl stop acting like girl, and guy falls in love with ghost. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. And then, after falling in love with ghost, guy started treating girl like shit. 1-star. Then there's Or Else by Joe Hart, which happens to be a book that I now cannot tell you what happened in. Well, if you've read any of these books, I would love to hear your how you rated the book. I'm also accepting book recommendation because I want to read more book that I remember. I read 50 Shades of Grey back in high school, and I can tell you what happened in the book. I read Twilight back in high school, and I can tell you what happened in the book. I can. Or maybe it's because I've read those books multiple times, but I'm accepting book recommendations. I finally committed to reading again as an adult, and it's the reason why I bought these books, none of which I have read as yet, but I do plan to read them. Now, I do want to thank you so much for watching, and I hope I did not bore you to death. It was not my intention if I did. Now that we've said all that we've said, I do hope you are having a wonderful time. It is expected to snow today or tonight and tomorrow. And I'll be home making something for my crochet business, and I'll also be reading a book. I'm currently reading, which I've been reading for like 2 weeks. Me Before You. Reading is not a race. I'm going to take my sweet time reading these books, but I still want those book recommendations. Thank you so much for watching. Stay safe, stay healthy, and I do hope if you're in a cold state, you try to stay warm. Bye.